Welcome to Professor Grace's graphic class. Before you start this lesson, download the linked reference file and please watch the ad until the end so you can receive better content. In this tutorial, we'll take a look at the line drawing tools and shortcuts. In the Tools panel, click on the Line Segment tool and touch the tail of bar to separate it from the panel. Click the Fill Color icon and then press / on the keyboard to remove the color. Use black for the stroke color. In the Stroke panel, click the Weight drop-down button and select 2 point. On the first page, I will show you how to draw the basic line drawings. Select Line Segment tool. Hold down Shift and drag horizontally along the cross guideline to draw a horizontal line. Hold down Shift and drag vertically to draw a vertical line. As you have just seen, holding down Shift and clicking and dragging will allow you to draw horizontal lines and vertical lines. Or clicking and dragging the mouse without pressing Shift will allow you to draw lines at free angles. With the Line Segment tool selected, click the Artboard. In the Line Segment Tool Options dialog box, type length 5.5 cm, angle 45 degrees, and then click OK. If you want to draw lines with the desired length and angle, use the dialog box. Select Arc tool. Click and drag the mouse along the left leaf shape guideline. Then click and drag again to draw the leaf shape. Click and drag the mouse along the right leaf shape guideline. Then click and drag again to draw the leaf shape. Double-click Arc tool. In the Arc Segment Tool Options dialog box, length x-axis and length y-axis refer to the length of the x and y-axis. You can select the pivot point or registration point by clicking on the square icon. Click the Type drop-down button and select Closed. Click the Base Along drop-down button and select Y-axis. Move the slider of slope to the direction of concave on the left and move it to the right convex again to see how the shape changes in the preview window. Type Slope 80, check Fill Arc, and click OK. Click and drag the mouse on the artboard to draw a closed curve according to the tool settings. This time, click the artboard with Arc tool selected. In the Arc Segment Tool Options dialog box you just saw, you see that the preview window is gone, but the rest of the options are still there. Leave length x-axis and length y-axis as they are. Select Type Open based along x-axis, and then type Slope 50. Click the upper left corner of the pivot point, uncheck Fill Arc, and click OK. You see that the open curve is created directly based on the setting of the dialog box. After you double-click on the tool to set the tool options in the dialog box, you have to click and drag the mouse on the artboard to draw a shape based on the tool settings. On the other hand, after clicking on the artboard, set the tool options in the dialog box and press OK to create the same shape as the tool settings. Select Spotter tool. Draw a spotter by clicking and dragging along the guideline. With Spotter tool selected, click the artboard. In the spotter dialog box, radius refers to the radius of the spotter. The larger the value, the larger the spotter. Decay means that the smaller the number typed, the more distorted the shape of the spotter. If you type 100% in decay, the shape of the spotter becomes a circle. Segment is the number of connected segments between the anchor point and the anchor point in the spotter. The smaller the number typed, the simpler the shape of the spotter. The larger the number, the more complex the shape of the spotter. You can select the direction of the spotter in Style. Click Cancel to maintain the settings as default. Select the Rectangular Grid tool. Click and drag to draw a rectangular grid along the guideline. With the Rectangular Grid tool selected, click the Artboard. In the Rectangular Grid Tool Options dialog box, width and height are the size of the rectangular grid. Number of horizontal dividers means the number of horizontal dividing lines. Number of vertical dividers means the number of vertical dividing lines. In Skew of horizontal dividers, as you move the slider toward the left bottom, the lower horizontal line becomes wider, and the upper horizontal line becomes narrower. As you move to the top direction, the upper horizontal line becomes wider and the lower horizontal line becomes narrower. In Skew of vertical dividers, as you move the slider toward left, the left vertical divider becomes narrower, and the right vertical divider becomes wider. As you move the slider toward right, the left vertical divider becomes wider and the right vertical divider becomes narrower. If you check Use Outside Rectangle as Frame, you will use the outer rectangle as a frame, and check Fill Grid to fill the grid. Click Cancel to maintain the settings as default. Select the Polar Grid tool. Move the mouse to the center of the guideline. Hold down Alt-Shift and drag the mouse along the guideline to draw a polar grid from the center. With the Polar Grid tool selected, click the Artboard. In the Polar Grid Tool Options dialog box, width and height refer to the size of the polar grid. Number of concentric dividers means the number of circular dividers, and number of radial dividers means the number of linear dividers. In Skew of concentric dividers, as you move the slider toward the in direction, the inner circle is narrower and wider as it goes to the outer circle. As you move the slider toward the out direction, the outer circle becomes narrower and the inner circle becomes wider. In the Skew of radial dividers, if you move the slider toward the bottom direction, the linear dividers become wider in the counterclockwise direction. But if you move the slider toward the top direction, the linear dividers become wider in the clockwise direction. Checking Create Compound Path from Ellipsis makes compound paths in the ellipsis, and checking Fill Grid fills the polar grid. Click Cancel to maintain the settings as default. On the second artboard page, I will show you how to draw fan and window using the line drawing tools and the shortcuts. Select Line Segment tool. Along the guideline, hold down Shift and drag horizontally to draw two disconnected horizontal lines. Press Ctrl+ several times to zoom in. Hold down Spacebar and drag the mouse to the fan blade guideline. Select the Arc tool. Click and drag along the guideline, then hold the mouse. While holding the mouse, press the down arrow several times and release the mouse when the guideline and the shape match. While holding the mouse, press the down arrow several times and release the mouse when the guideline and the shape match. While holding the mouse, press the up arrow several times and release the mouse when the guideline and the shape match. While holding the mouse, press the down arrow several times and release the mouse when the guideline and the shape match. Select all the lines of the fan blade and press Ctrl G to group them. Because we need 5 fan blades in total, 4 more blades are required. You can divide 360 degrees by 5, the total number of blades, and rotate each fan blade 72 degrees apart. With the fan blade is selected, double-click Rotate tool in the Tools panel. In the Rotate dialog box, check Preview. Type 72 degrees in angle and press Copy. The second fan blade has been created, and we need 3 more blades rotated 72 degrees. To repeat the command I just showed, press Ctrl D 3 times to copy 3 blades rotated 72 degrees. Press V to select the Selection tool. Select each of the grouped blades and move them to that location along the guideline. You see that the 5 fan blades are nicely arranged at an angle of 72 degrees. Select Polar Grid tool. Move the mouse to the center of the fan guideline. Click and drag the mouse, then hold the mouse. With the mouse held, press the down arrow several times to remove all of the concentric dividers. Press the right arrow several times to add the radial dividers, and hold the mouse. Hold down Alt-Shift together and drag the mouse to match it to the guideline, then release the mouse. Press D to select the default color. Select Ellipse tool. While holding down spacebar, drag the mouse to the bottom of the fan. Hold down Alt and click and drag to draw an ellipse along the guideline. With the ellipse selected, press Ctrl C to copy and press Ctrl F to paste it front. Press the up arrow several times on the keyboard to move up slightly. Hold down Shift and click and drag to draw a small circle. Hold down Alt and drag 4 times to the right to copy the fan button. Click and drag on the fan shaft to draw an ellipse. While holding down spacebar, drag the mouse to the center of the fan frame. Hold down Alt-Shift and draw a circle along the guideline. Select Spotter tool. Click and drag the mouse, then hold the mouse. With the mouse held, press the up arrow several times to add a segment of the spotter and release the mouse. Move the spotter toward the edge of the circle. While holding down spacebar, drag the mouse to the fan shaft. Select Line Segment tool. Hold down Shift and click and drag to draw 2 vertical lines. Select Arc tool. Click and drag the mouse along the guideline and hold the mouse. With the mouse held, Press the up arrow a few times and release the mouse when the shape is matched to the guideline. Click and drag on the opposite side to draw the remaining shaft. Press down spacebar and move to the top left of the artboard. Select the rectangular grid tool to draw the window. While holding down the mouse and dragging along the window guideline, press the down arrow several times on the keyboard until you get the 3 rows and hold the mouse. With the mouse held, press the left arrow several times on the keyboard until you get the 3 columns and release the mouse. Select the arc tool to draw the curtain. Click and drag the mouse along the guideline and hold the mouse. Press the up or down arrows on the keyboard to create an arc that meets the guideline, then release the mouse. Again, click and drag, then hold the mouse. Press the down or up arrows on the keyboard a few times to create an arc that meets the guideline, then release the mouse. In the same way, click and drag the mouse on the opposite side and click the up or down arrow to draw the curtain. Press Ctrl 0 to fit the artboard to the window size. Press Ctrl semicolon to hide the guidelines. Now you see only the line drawings clearly. Hold down spacebar and drag the mouse down to move to the third artboard page. I will show you how to work with the shortcuts of the line drawing tools. Select the Spotter tool. Click and drag on the artboard and hold the mouse. Press the down arrow continuously on the keyboard to remove the segment of the spotter, and press it all the way down to create an arc with only one segment. After clicking and dragging on the artboard, hold the mouse and press the up arrow continuously on the keyboard to create a spotter by gradually adding segments. Select the rectangular grid tool. When you click and drag on the artboard, pressing the down arrow decreases the number of horizontal dividers. Pressing it all the way down removes all the horizontal dividers, and pressing the up arrow increases the number of horizontal dividers. When you click and drag on the artboard, press left arrow continuously to decrease the number of vertical dividers. Press it all the way down to remove all the vertical dividers, and press right arrow to increase the number of vertical dividers. If you hold down Ctrl C while clicking and dragging on the artboard, the left side of the vertical column becomes wider and narrower toward the right. If you hold down Ctrl X while clicking and dragging on the artboard, the left side of the column narrows and widens to the right. Press Ctrl C several times to return to an even rectangular grid. Ctrl C and Ctrl X are the Skew shortcut keys that make the width of the vertical space of the rectangular grid asymmetrical. If you hold down Ctrl F while clicking and dragging on the artboard, the top of the horizontal rows becomes wider and narrower toward the bottom. If you hold down Ctrl V while clicking and dragging on the artboard, the top of the horizontal rows becomes narrower and wider towards the bottom. Press Ctrl F several times to return to an even rectangular grid. Ctrl F and Ctrl V are the Skew shortcuts that make the height of the horizontal space of the rectangular grid asymmetrical. Select the Polar Grid tool. When you click and drag on the artboard, pressing the down arrow decreases the number of concentric dividers, and pressing it all the way down removes all the concentric dividers. Continue pressing the up arrow to increase the number of concentric dividers. If you click and drag on the artboard, press the left arrow to decrease the number of radial dividers, and press it all the way down to remove all the radial dividers. By pressing the right arrow continuously, you can continue to add the number of radial dividers. While clicking and dragging on the artboard, if you press down Ctrl+C several times, the interval between the inner circles becomes wider and narrower toward the outer circle. Press down Ctrl+X several times while clicking and dragging on the artboard to narrow the inner circle and widen to the outer circle. Press down Ctrl+C several times to return to an even polar grid. Ctrl+C and Ctrl+X are the skew shortcuts that make the concentric divider spacing of the polar grid asymmetrical. While clicking and dragging on the artboard, if you hold down Ctrl+F, the interval of radial divider widens clockwise. While clicking and dragging on the artboard, if you press down Ctrl+V, the interval of radial divider becomes narrower in the clockwise direction. Press Ctrl+F several times to return to an even polar grid. Ctrl+F and Ctrl+V are the skew shortcuts that make the radial divider of the polar grid asymmetric. So far, you've learned how to draw using 5 line drawings and how to use shortcuts. I hope this tutorial helped you understand the line drawing tools that allow you to draw various types of lines. Well, this is the end of the line drawing tools. Thank you for watching Professor Grace's Illustrator lecture. Please watch the next video in order to follow all the courses without skipping a lesson. To keep learning and master Illustrator, please press the subscribe and the like buttons.